What should you call yourself when you're releasing music? Now, I've got a few tips for you here. I get this question a lot, and some people run into trouble when you first start releasing your music. You're thinking, well, my name is X. Should I just use my name? Should I use a band name, something completely made up, a variation of my name? What should I actually use to release my music? Well, here's some tips. Here's some things that I think you should keep in mind that might help you out. The number one thing, if you're only going to listen to 1 minute of this, the number one thing to consider is whether your name is unique. Now, the reason for this is that stores, streaming platforms, basically everywhere online uses that name as the main thing when it's categorizing and cataloging music. So let's go through an example. If I release music to Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Play, Deezer, Amazon, all of these places, and my name is John Smith, and I release my music as John Smith, well, guess what? There's other John Smiths that have released music, yeah? So the chances of something going astray, something going wrong, and your music getting added to someone else's music catalog is fairly high. Having a unique name, if you're Johnny Q Rainbow Smith, well, guess what? There's probably not too many more Johnny Q Rainbow Smiths that have released music. So that's why having a unique name is something you should consider. There's other considerations that we'll talk about in a moment about why it's important. But if we're staying on this one, streaming platforms, they may put your music under an existing artist instead of creating a new profile for you and your music. So that means that, yeah, your music's going to go under the other person who's releasing under that name. Not cool. The other thing is that if you want to make some revenue, some royalties from streaming, or especially from the playing of your music on radio in public, having the name really clear is really important. If someone's trying to license your song and they're putting your name in as the songwriter, we'll talk about that in a moment, then you need to make sure that it's easy for them to find the details and the information. And speaking of easy to find, search engine optimization, SEO, is another really important thing for your music. For instance, if you go to Google right now and you search Pete Johns, the reason I'm Pete Johns, not Peter Johns, with my artist name, is that there's no other Pete Johnses in music. I think there was one trumpet player from like 1910, but you know what? He's not very active on social media. So there's no other Pete Johnses out there. So when you go and Google Pete Johns, it'll give you my YouTube channel, my Facebook, my Twitter, and more importantly, if I'm releasing music, all of my music releases. So because they're all under Pete Johns and I have that consistent brand with my artist name, everything flows on from that. So that's why it's really important. Should you consider using your real name? Well, yes, there's a few advantages to using your real name. If it is unique, and you're lucky enough that your real name is unique in terms of music, that no one else is producing or releasing music under that name, one of the advantages is it'll match your songwriter name, which we'll talk about in a moment, and that can just make things easier when it comes to licensing and some of those royalties and revenue. So if you can align your performance name with your real name, then that's great. More power to you. But most of us don't have a name that's unique enough to actually do that. And make sure, talking of songwriting, make sure that even when you're releasing music, even Johnny Q Rainbow Smith, when it comes to the songwriting details, when you're releasing through DistroKid or Muse or TuneCore, CD Baby, wherever, make sure when it asks for the songwriter name, that is your real name, the name on your passport, the name on your driver's license. The reason that's important is if you ever want to make royalties as the songwriter, that is only going to happen if your real name is there. If you have Johnny Q Rainbow Smith and then you try to get paid as that, well, if your bank accounts and if your passport and if your license don't match, if you're not Johnny Q Rainbow Smith, it's not going to work. I mean, if you go and change your name by default to Johnny Q Rainbow Smith, yay, more power to you. You can get it all done. Final tips here. Other tips around it, your artist name or your band name. Make it easy to spell if you can. If it's got like a silent Q and 14 Fs or something ridiculous, it's going to be hard for folks to find you. Make it easy to pronounce. So a lot of band names, I'm like, we are Anaroshma. And we're like, okay, not only do I not know how to say that, but I don't know how to spell that. I'm not ever going to be able to find you online. So making it easier to pronounce can be a thing. And make it memorable. So I'll use Jade Star. Jade Star has a bunch of different band names, but Jade Star Dread Circus. That's in my head. I know how to spell Dread Circus. There's really only one way to do it, and Dread Circus is just memorable because it sounds cool. You're like, Dread Circus, is that like some sort of weird, dark clown thing? Like, where does that come from? So it creates intrigue. It's memorable, easy to pronounce, easy to spell. That's my 2 cents though. But what do you think? What's your considerations? What band name or artist name do you use, and why did you pick it? I'd love to hear from you. Drop that in the comments of this video.